questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colonel Jeffress, I have an understanding that the administration, since January 2021, later, I guess in 2022 or maybe even this year, agreed to permit some progress on some border wall construction to fill in gaps or something of the kind. Do you administer that process? Am I correct, first of all, and do you administer that process?
Sir, thank you for the question. Regarding whether the administration has opened up additional construction for the fill in the gaps, as you say, I would have to go back to the program office, but the Corps of Engineers does provide oversight as the design construction agent for those contracts or those projects that they've been designated, whether it's been through DOD or DHS. When they're designated, they do provide that oversight, yes.
All right, are you able to quantify what portion of construction activity that represents in relationship to the contracts that had been let and were pending at the time the Biden administration took office and stopped them?
Again, Chairman, based on the number of miles that you're referring to, not having that specific knowledge, I cannot answer specifically what percentage you're referring to. We can take that back for the record.
Well, with that regard, you can answer specifically. It is my understanding that it was just a relatively, just a very small percentage. Isn't that correct?
That is my understanding, but I don't have enough quantification.
Yeah. Are you able to say what border materials are in possession of any of the contracting government agencies under these contracts that have been suspended, then canceled?
Yes, Chairman. We've got, started off with $262 million worth of materials left over from these various contracts. We've currently gotten it down through the disposition process to where we've got the border bollard panels still on the ground out there. In some locations, we do have some of the other materials, whether it be electrical equipment for the fiber optic cabling or lighting, that is in the disposition process, but that's not on the ground with the contractors, in my understanding at this point.
How are you disposing of it?
At this point, Chairman, there's two different processes, one for the DOD, one for the DHS, both of which are similar, but it goes through a defined process through which it is inventoried at the contract level, and the government validates that inventory and then reviews it to determine whether it can be reusable or must be thrown to scrap. And then through that process, if it's DOD, the Defense Logistics Agency, will manage that process from start to finish all the way through, and it'll go through multiple entities of can DLA use it, can another DOD entity use it before it'll go to federal or state agencies, and then finally out for sale. If none of that works, then it goes to scrap. On the DHS side, GSA will facilitate that, and it will go first to another agency if there's a requirement, and then we work that with GSA by notifying them. And then if not, then GSA will help facilitate the process of advertising and then final disposition.
What value of American taxpayer paid for supplies has been disposed of as scrap?
I am sorry, Chairman, I don't have that exact number on me right now.
Do any of the witnesses know the answer to that, whether precisely or roughly?
I do not, sir.
So none of the witnesses here can tell us how much of the American taxpayers' precious dollars spent on first quality goods have been disposed of as scrap. Is that correct? How many unused border wall panels are in the possession of DOD?
Currently in possession of DOD, we have 20,822 at various storage locations.
What is the cost to DOD to store and secure unused border materials per day?
So that is a very interesting question in the fact that we don't incur the cost by day. Those contracted storage rates are valued inside their termination proposals because the contractors are required for that. So
Are you able to provide any stat here about the cost of storage?
Yes, sir. At this point in time, we've run a running point in time estimate. It constantly changes based on what we've turned in. We currently believe that based on the amount of the disposition that's been conducted, the amount of material still on the ground, we're looking at about $160,000 a month for the storage of the material on the DOD process at this time.
How much did DOD spend on storing unused border materials in fiscal years 2021 and 2022 total?
Sir, again, that would be wrapped inside the fixed price contract, and I can't provide that cost.
All right. Ms. Gambler, I don't know if you can speak to this. I understand that that GAO at one point said this was a mere programmatic delay, didn't violate the Impoundment Control Act, but that was in 2021, what about 30 months later? Is that still the contention of GAO that this doesn't violate the Impoundment Control Act for the Biden administration unilaterally to disregard Congress's appropriation?
Yep, thank you for the question, Chairman. As you noted, that was GAO's legal decision at the time in the summer of 2021. We have not done an additional review of the facts and circumstances at this point. If that's something that the committee's interested in, we'd be happy to talk with you about that going forward, Chairman.
It might be interesting, but I don't really care. I know what the violation of law looks like. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. Time's expired.